Welcome to Queen Deluxe. Let's do some vintage sewing. This week on Queen Deluxe, we cut out the 1920s dress out of real fabric and put together the bodice. So here's the fabric that I got from my mom's stash. Isn't it beautiful? It's a silk vintage sari in this kind of acidy green. It keeps blowing out my camera, so it's going to appear in many different colors throughout the video. So I've decided to use the border print at the waist instead of putting a trim there, and now I'm just trying to decide how I'm going to place the skirt on the fabric. I kind of decided it's going to be like a border and a border, but I cut it wrong, and we'll go over that in another video. Today we're going to concentrate on cutting out and putting together the bodice. So the border print is on the edge next to the selvage, so I'm having to cut this whole dress on the cross grain, which is irritating but not horrible. Confused about grain line and what's the straight of grain? I have another video that explains that, and I will put it in the description box below. I'm now cutting all the little facing pieces that go around the neck. I have to end up piecing those together so that I will have enough, and they're way off grain, but I'm gonna put interfacing behind them anyways, and they turn out great. It's not a problem. Here are the little pleated pieces that go down the side front. I decided to kind of fussy cut them on the edge of the fabric. Back in my very first video, when we were discussing how the original 1920s dress was made, it had some French seaming, but not every seam was French seamed. I decided to do the main portion of seaming on this bodice with French seams. It would be nicer, and this Dupioni does ravel quite a bit on the cross grain, so I decided to do that. A French seam is a seam that is put together twice. So you put wrong sides together, and right here you can see my chalk marks from when I cut this out. So wrong sides together, and then you do a small, scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then you take it to the ironing board, press it to one side, clip it any fraying edges, press it over again, and then sew it a second time so that all of the raw edges are encased in the middle of the seam. Now I am stay stitching the neckline after the shoulder seams and side seams have been put together. This will help the bias sections of the neck not to stretch out before the facing gets put on. The neck facing was put on wrong side to right side from the inside. So the facing itself was right side to the inside of the neck of the bodice. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Unfortunately, I lost my footage of me pinning that and sewing that up. Right now, I am understitching the neck edge so that it will roll over perfectly, and we won't see any of the green popping through on that black neckline. I'm understitching all the way to the point that comes down to the side front right here, and then I actually pull it away so I get a really sharp, nice point there, and then I will start again. If you guys ever have any questions about techniques that I'm using that you are not familiar with, please put those questions in the comments below and I will be happy to answer anything. I will even make videos about certain techniques if you're confused. So please let me know. Love me some understitching. So now I have my facing turned to the outside, and now I'm going to do a really close top stitch on the very edge here, all the way around. I put the black band across the shoulder blades and it turns out so cute. Can't stand it. Now on to sleeves. Ugh. So the sleeves on this dress have been an epic journey. I did the first mock-up and then we did our fitting, and the shoulder seam needed to be moved up onto my shoulder, and that changed the shape of the arm's eye, and then I did a new sleeve and I did a new mock-up and they looked so weird. So I actually drafted a new sleeve from a 1920s pattern book, and it turned out a lot better, and measured it from the new altered armhole, and they actually went in really beautifully. So after all that drama with a couple different sleeve choices, now it looks really nice. So I'm very happy with how the sleeves installed and how they look afterwards. On the original dress, the sleeves were put in with a French seam, which is really hard to do, and after all my hard work on getting the sleeve to fit, I didn't want to screw it up with a machine French seam. So I decided to actually put in the sleeve by machine and then turn in the seam allowances towards each other and hand sew the rest of that seam together. And I'll show you how that turned out in just a sec. Thanks for sewing with me this week. Next time, we will put together the skirt and finish this bad boy. I am ready. I have it all done, and I can't wait to see it all together. See you next time. Why are you sad? Yeah. Oh, yeah?